Hello everyone, in this one we're going to show how we shade in Maya and set our mesh in ZBrush and export the maps we need for the shading. First, let's see the things we already textured in ZBrush. The hair, I made some basic colors, some light brown, some mixing in between, and the eyebrows the same. The eyes that you already saw, basic iris, brown color, some small lighting in it. Now we're just going to set our scale. Now this is a very important step because when you set the scale right, it reacts well with the lights in Maya and the subsurface scattering, which you needed for a real human effect. So how do we do that? I set all my objects in one group and I made a box in Maya, this one, to the size I wanted. Now a basic human female is around 60 or 70 centimeters. So I just import that box here and then went to my group, and on this I said transpose set. What it does is it gives this marking, that means it's holding all our 12 objects, and you just scale them the way you want. This is the box, the scale you want it. Afterwards, after you set the scale, you just go to exporting the maps you want. Now first let's go with the color. For the hair, I wanted to export only a color map because the hair, we had it in 3 layers. I merged it down, and since I didn't do anything with its quality, so I don't need a displacement or normal map for it. So I just go Z plugin, multi-map exporter, texture from polypaint. For key, now this is important, flip V, because the UV in ZBrush already flip it, so you needed to flip it back before importing into Maya. So afterwards you activate this one and say create all maps. Just choose the size where you want it and name it and just say save. I did the same for the eyebrows and the eyes. We're still going to need to create a displacement, normal, and a cavity map for the skin. This is important to give all the sculpting we made its highlight. Now after we exported the color maps, we need to export the most important thing. Now before we do that, remember we had a lot of layers here to create the skin texture. This one, I just said bake all, this one, so it bakes all my layers into my original mesh. Afterwards I just go to multi-exporter maps and I export displacement, cavity, and normal. Now there are settings here for each one. I just go through to see everything is in check, in order. Subdivision 2, it's important to export the displacement map from the level you export the mesh. I exported my mesh level 2, so my displacement map will start from level 2. Normal map, these are things I activate. Probably find them activated in your basic settings. Cavity map. Now the cavity map is also very important because it adds more details to displacement, like it has some depth in it. You'll see when we get to mine. After I adjusted my settings, I just say create all maps, just like this. It will produce 2 PSD files and 1 TIFF. I'll just say where I want them and say save. Now exporting these will take some time. After we finish, this is all basically we need to do here in ZBrush. Now let's jump to Maya. Now we're here in Maya. First, we need to set up our mesh and the lighting system. After I imported all my objects, I put them in one group and created these two small spheres. One that reflects metal, the environment you put, and one for roughness. It's just more professional that way. Afterwards are lights. Now these are important. One I use to make a small rim light on the back, just on the edges, a fill light to break the shadows, and a key light, the main light that gives the full lighting effect. It basically just lights up her face. I like to add a sky dome just because it gives a general glow and a real effect, because it contains a natural light source, and it's good when I adjust the scattering right. It just gives the real human skin effect. When I want to see how my lighting looks, I just go to render, debug shading, and lighting, and I just render that. This is how my lighting looks, which is good. Sometimes I want to adjust the intensity or something, exposure, intensity. I just play with this. Spread is also important. The more spread it is, the more smooth the lighting will be. The less the spread, the sharper the lighting will be. Now mostly my rim light, I like it to be very sharp, not extremely, just to give the nice light here. When I want to see how it looks, I just isolate it like that and render. So this is my rim light, subtle and sharp and just the right effect. This is my key light. We'll see how we got that look later. And this is the one right here. I basically just put to break some of the shadows here and to show the subsurface scattering in her ear. Afterwards, let me just close this one. Afterwards, we start setting the cameras and we get to our shading. Now the cameras, I put two. Camera one with a perspective look, and this is important. Now when you make a head, you want the focal length to be high, like 75, 80, 85, it depends on how you want it, just because it's more realistic that way. So this is the perspective for camera one, and this is camera two, basic front. And afterwards I lock my cameras so I won't accidentally ruin the angle I want. Afterwards I just go to perspective again, and let's get on with our shading. I open the hyper shade from this tiny blue ball here, and here we go. Just because I like to be organized and it helps me to find things more easily, I made some subfolders categories. Skin, just with my skin itself, shading of its skin. Eyes, for the iris, cornea, and lacrima. Clothes, for the entire shading of the clothes. Hair, now do realize we have sculpting hair, not a real hair. Like I said, we need to shade it. And the basic shaders, the small two spheres that one reflects our environment and the other just pure roughness. I made them in a separate folder. So first let's get on with the skin. Now for basic, first we add, you press tab on the keyboard like this and write AI standard surface. Afterwards you get this list here, and you start adding the maps you created. Let me just show you these maps. Yeah, these are the maps that we exported so far, and just start adding them one by one. How? We just drag and drop, just like in Photoshop. So I added my color map. Now you have to pay attention to the color space. Now the maps we exported, gray channel, it has to have a raw color space. The colors sRGB. I didn't like the tones, it was pale a bit, so I added a color correct and just played a bit with the gamma, saturation. Yeah, if you like the outcome you already exported from Substance, you don't have to add this one, just like to tweak it a bit. Afterwards, now in the normal map I added at last because I think the displacement will give you more than enough details you need. This is how. One has my displacement map and the other the cavity map. This is the displacement and this is the raw, the cavity. Now look at the color space. It's raw here and raw here. Now I want to mix the both of them. How do we do that? We add an layer RGB. You put one in mix one, in input one, and the other in input two, and just play with the mixing here, right here. You just play until you find the good result you want, and then displacement shader, and you link it directly to the standard surface outcome. And let me show you how it is. Right, this is the result you get after adding the displacement and the cavity. Now I did a lot of testing using displacement. I made it like full at first, full number here, 1, and a little bit cavity, but I didn't like the outcome much, so I just started playing a bit until I got this result. Gave me a good result for the cavity, like small pores, and the displacement just highlights these the sculpting effect. I mean, let's just look at the lips, looks really good. Now I wanted to see what happens if I added a normal map. Now pay attention, when you add a displacement map, it has already all your details, you don't need much afterwards. But I wanted to see what will happen if I added a normal map, and basically it just played with the lighting itself. You know, when we have pores on the skin, it reacts to the light. The pores on the surface reflects more light than the deeper pores, and when you add a normal map, it starts playing with that effect. Now I put it, but like I didn't need much of it because it was pretty good itself. Just a small number was more than enough. I needed to like yeah, two percentage strength, something really small, because it just added like this lighting effect that I told you about. Afterwards I isolated everything and just rendered the skin itself like a lot of times until I got this result. Let me show you. Yeah, this is like the basic render. The first render was just the skin. I added the eyes later, but let me just zoom in on the skin here. I mean, look at this. Of course this is not a very high quality because high quality would take a lot of time to render. This is 1K. When I wanted to have my final render, I made it 2K, but like that took almost an hour or something like that. So I just, after I finish everything, I do my final render. Afterwards, the eyes. We have the eyes split into three: the iris itself, the cornea, I call it an outer, and my lacrima. First, let's start with the easy and basic one. The cornea, you just needed a glass material. That's all you're gonna need. Some people play with the depth in the transmission here, but I don't think I needed it in this point. I just go to preset here and look for glass material. There's our like standard materials set in Maya. You can just use them if you want, and say replace. It will give all the parameters you need for glass material. And afterwards, I just assigned it to my, I call it outer. Click right like this and say assign existing material, and look for the material you just created. The same for the skin. Now this is the cornea. Afterwards, the iris. In this point, you just need three things: the color map, displacement, or normal map. The normal maps I exported from Substance had great details in them. Displacement, I used it, but like I said, it really worked for me with the skin. For the rest of the objects, I think the normal map gave me the details I needed. So a color map. Now here I put it in both base color and subsurface color. Alright, we did not talk about subsurface. I'm sorry, my bad. In the skin, this is like really important. After we did all these maps, it's important to I put my color, my basic color, in subsurface color. Why? Because I'm gonna open the subsurface in my entire mesh, and natural, it will read the thin places and the thick places and put more subsurface in them. I opened the weight completely. Subsurface color. Before I attached my map, I chose from here skin 2. Scale, now it's not exactly set number, but 0.1 is it gives good result. I chose the type Red and Walk version 2, and like I said, I added small light on behind my ear, so just I can detect what my subsurface really looked like. Now here just 1K quality, and despite that, you'll see it takes some time even before rendering. Hold on, let me show you. Yeah, sometimes it happens when your lab just won't render the things you want, so just press update full scene. That usually does the trick. If it's enough amount that I wanted to see, I just move on to the rest. You can just instead of waiting for the entire image to render, you can just hit this box and like go for the ear and just render that itself. I like that redness, it looks pretty natural, so this is the subsurface I needed, and that's about it for it. For also we made a lot of maps exporting from a Substance, but I didn't find myself needing the roughness map. I just like set the roughness to a little high number, and that was enough for me. Also the scattering, I found the subsurface Maya scattering is really good because it already detects the thin layer and puts more subsurface in it, and the thick not so much. And it just makes more sense for the entire face to have subsurface in different numbers. Alright, so back to the eyes. I put my my color map in subsurface color and in base color. Why? Because when I only put it in subsurface color, the entire eyes just subsurface and my iris became a little bit too plastic, so I just attached it in base color to get some of the color data back. And my normal map and displacement, it's important to not put them both in full strength, so I made like normal map 700 and displacement like 800, something like that. Just mix the both of them together to give great effect. Afterwards, the last but not least, lacrima. The same basic color map. I did remember it was a bit pale, so I played with the gamma a bit. Normal map and displacement map the same, put them in different numbers. Now it's important when you add displacement map, you first really have to activate cat Clark for all these meshes. Just go to here and go to Arnold subdivision. It's like the levels in ZBrush. Level 1, level 2, level 3. The more you add number, the more quality you get. So for the things I didn't need much data in, I made it cat Clark 2. 2 was more than enough. But for something like the head, because I have a lot of details in it, I made it like 4. You can go higher if you want, if you feel like the details are not strong enough, but 4 was good enough for me. Here I didn't do anything because it's the same original mesh. Eyes, because I have a lot of sculpting and details and I want the eyes to look more natural, I made it 4. Eyebrows to something pretty basic. Now this is what you need to do before you add a displacement map. And one more important thing, I think it's really important. When you add a displacement map, make sure to adjust the scale 0 value. Now what this is, when you not put it, you find your object bloated in a very scary way. So you just try numbers 1.1, 0.2, 0.3, generally 0.5 mostly works. I just did that pretty much in every object. The eyes, the skin, it's called scalar 0 value. Alright, this is one of the important things. Alright, now after we did the lacrima, the clothes. Now I used all my exported maps in this one. The color map, just like I said, pay attention to the color space. The color map, I put it directly in base color. The roughness, I put it in specular roughness. Now it's important because Maya's not like substance. When it comes, substance reads the white as the thing that has roughness in it and the black as not. Maya, not really. You need to invert the maps to make it work. So I added a color layer, color correct, and just check this box and put it in specular roughness. Alright. Afterwards, the opacity, because we had, remember, 2 degrees of opacity, one really like you can see the skin underneath and one not so much, so I just put it in transmission. And I did invert it because it has the same problem as the roughness map. It reads vice versa. Afterwards, normal map, displacement map. See here, I adjusted the scalar 0 value, and I didn't find I need too much displacement because I added some in my normal map. Usually when you have a displacement map, you don't need roughness much because the surface pores and the deep pores, they're going to reflect to break the light just naturally. But if you only have a normal map, you're going to need a roughness map. I like to mix both together to get the best result. You really just test a lot. You do this a lot by testing. I mean, I like spend an entire day just testing the different outcomes, different dome lighting. I'll show you the renders in a while. Afterwards, for the hair, now this is a sculpting hair. There's not much, there's no rules here. So I just made an standard hair surface. I just go tap here and AI standard hair, and I played a bit in these parameters. Basically, this is the melanin. The higher you go, the darker the hair will get. Some redness that gives that red effect, and randomize if you want to open it or not. It depends on the look you want. I liked the brown reddish color I got, and this was pretty much my hair, at least for this sculpting hair. When we get to real hair next week, it will be different from this. The eyebrows, I did try a hair standard material, but it looked really weird. So I just made a normal standard surface. I did some subsurface in them just because I didn't want them to look really dark sharp because they're sculpting eyebrows. When we also make the more natural hair, it will look really better than this. You have a lot of hair. You have the eyebrows hair, the eyelashes, the fuzz hair all over the skin, and the real hair. That one we made in fiber mesh. We're going to see how we take the guides from it and just use them here to create real hair. Basic shaders, one pretty much something metal or just something that reflects all the lighting you did. I used the pre-ready preset roughness. I just made the roughness really high, and yeah, I didn't play much, just want to see the normal lighting you used. This is about it. After you done all your shading, you start playing with the lighting you need. So this is like all the renders I made. Now let me tell you, to get a very good result with a high quality, this is like 2K, and each one took like, I don't know, 40 minutes or something like that. I just wanted to go over the details. Now this is what a natural light would do. Of course, this is not all only the dome. I added some extra light on certain parts just to break some of the shadows. Look at the pores. I mean, this is what really high quality does. Look at the pores, the natural pores here and around the mouth, in the eye. Of course, when we add some real hair, eyelashes and all that, it will look even more prettier. Look at the fabric. This is the basic studio light. Look here, the reflection says which exactly dome you used and the natural lighting, what it looks like. And I wanted to try something like sunrise effect or something like that. It also gave pretty natural look. I mean, look at the subsurface scattering, it really looks natural. naturally when you add the fuzz hair all over, it will even break more of this glimmering lights we see here, because, well, all people have fuzz hair. So this is about it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one when we create real hair using the hair we already created in fiber mesh. Thank you for watching.